Today I want to give you a fun 7-day speaking challenge for you to practice not only your speaking skills in English by yourself, but also for you to practice your storytelling skills. Are you ready? So let's get started. Hey there, how's it going? Thiago here, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. In case you are listening to me for the first time, the purpose of this podcast is to help intermediate and advanced learners of English communicate with more confidence, more accuracy, more clarity, and more awareness. If this sounds like something you want for yourself and your English, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube and follow the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, because that way you're not going to miss a single new episode. So let me explain the agenda for this week before we get started here. This challenge is about reading a short fictional story in English of about 500 words every day. So every day you will have to read aloud one fictional story. And the cool thing is that each day you will be working with a different story genre. One day you will be working with a mystery, the other day with a sci-fi story, and the other day an action story, and on like that. Okay? The purpose of this challenge is for you to practice reading a story aloud and injecting some emotion in your delivery, in your performance. Imagine you are reading to an audience and you are performing the story to an audience who is listening to you, okay? Now, you might be wondering, okay, Thiago, sounds fun, but how am I going to get these stories? Don't worry, because I have already compiled and put together 7 stories, one for each day of the week, for you to use. And for you to access these stories, there are 2 main ways. There is a free PDF for this, and there is a full version of the PDF, okay? You can download the free version of the PDF by clicking the link here in the description of the video. This free version only has the 7 stories you need to read aloud for 7 days, okay? That is entirely free. You can click on the link here in the description below and download it. But if you want to have a more complete learning experience with this challenge and with this episode, I recommend you download the full version of the PDF, because the full version not only has the stories, but also it has an extensive list of vocabulary that I have compiled from each story, defining the words and giving you an example sentence for each one of them. So you will see as you read these stories aloud that the stories are full of interesting vocabulary. So I have already taken the liberty to select the main words and expressions that I found interesting and create a glossary in this full version of the PDF. So for you to have access to the full version of the PDF, there are 2 ways. You can become a member of my private community, because members of my community will have access to this PDF already there in their members area, because they are members of the community already. So you can join the community and have access to it. Or if you prefer, you can just purchase this full version for $5. The link is also here in the description, both for you to join the community or to purchase the full version of the PDF with the glossary for only $5. It's a downloadable file. You just download it, and then you have access to it for life, okay? But regardless, download one of these versions. You don't need the full version in order to do this challenge. But again, if you want to have a more complete learning experience, I recommend the full version. You can get it by joining the private community or by purchasing it for only $5, okay? So in today's episode, I will be demonstrating this challenge here live with you. And I'm not going to be reading the stories in their entirety because, it would be just too much time here. What I'm going to be doing is, for each day, I'm going to read only the introductory paragraph of each story. And I'm going to explain some of the vocabulary from that paragraph. Okay? So this is a demonstration. For you to really do the whole challenge, download one of the PDF versions there, because the idea is for you to read the entire story every day, okay? So for the first day of the challenge, day 1, we have a mystery story. Let's call it a Mystery Monday. So the story is called The Case of the Vanishing Vocabulary. So listen, let me read the introductory paragraph. Detective Emma Jones frowned at her English textbook. Words she had learned yesterday seemed to have disappeared from her memory. Strange, she muttered, flipping through the pages. I was sure I knew these words. As she reached for her phone to check her vocabulary app, she noticed something odd. The app icon was missing. What was happening to her English skills? Nice, huh? So the story continues, but you will be reading that story over there by yourself. Just download one of the versions of the PDF. Notice that the purpose here is not just for you to read aloud, but also read performing. So this is a mystery. So try to inject some mystery in your narration. All right? Now, let me just quickly explain here some useful vocabulary from this paragraph. First of all, we have the phrasal verb to flip through. Okay? To flip through means to quickly look at pages of a book, magazine, like that. You are quickly looking at the pages there. You are flipping through. Here's an example. He was bored in the waiting room, so he flipped through an old magazine. Then we also have frown at. When you frown at something, you wrinkle your forehead like this, like I'm doing right now. And you turn down the corners of your mouth also, like that. And what do you show with this facial expression? You show disapproval or displeasure. You look at something and then you go, you see, I'm frowning right now. It's an expression in my face of disapproval. All right? Here's an example. The teacher frowned at the student who was talking during the lesson. Then we also have the verb to mutter. When you mutter, you speak quietly and in a low voice, often in a way that is hard to hear. All right? You speak like that. So right now, I'm kind of muttering. Like, I know these words already. Okay? And something odd is something strange or unusual. For example, it was odd that he didn't call to say he would be late. It was odd. It was strange. So this is day one, the Mystery Monday. We have a mystery story here about Emma and her English skills, right? Suddenly, things started to be missing on her phone and her apps. So what's going to happen to the story? Download the stories and see it for yourself. Okay? Now let's move on to the second day of the challenge, which is called the Fantasy Tuesday. Fantasy Tuesday. This story is called the Enchanted English Dictionary. All right? Again, I'm going to be reading here the first paragraph only, so listen. Sarah had always struggled with English until she found an old dictionary in a dusty bookshop. As she opened it, golden light spilled from the pages. Suddenly, the words began to float off the paper, swirling around her. Welcome, young learner, a voice whispered. I am the spirit of language, here to guide you on your English journey. Sarah gasped, realizing her adventure in English was about to become magical. You see, so now I'm reading a fantasy story. So the way I interpret it is I want to read it with a vocal tone that sounds more ceremonial, something like that. This is a fantasy story that I'm reading to you right now. You see? I mean, you can add your own interpretation to it, but that's one of the purposes of this challenge. Be kind of an actor, be a storyteller, really get into it. Okay? Don't just read in a boring, monotone way. Nobody likes to hear people who talk like that. Okay? Moving on to the vocabulary from this section here, we have dusty. Something that is dusty is covered with dust. It's dirty. When you don't clean your furniture in your living room for a while, the furniture starts to accumulate dust on top of it. So the furniture becomes dusty, okay? For example, the old books on the shelf were incredibly dusty. We also have float off. To float off means to move gently through the air, as if carried by a current. You know, when you are floating in the ocean, for example, or floating in the pool, in the swimming pool, you are just there, right? Floating, like this. So here's an example. The balloon slowly floated off into the sky. So can you picture the balloon floating off into the sky? Okay, it's this idea. We also have the word gasp. In the story, I said that Sarah gasped. When you gasp, you inhale suddenly with your mouth open out of surprise or shock. Is this, you know, I'm gasping right now. When you are surprised or shocked, to gasp, you go like that. For example, she gasped when she saw the beautiful view from the mountaintop. Okay? And finally, we have the verb swirl or to swirl. This is to move in a twisting or spiraling pattern, like this. Something swirling around and around. For example, the leaves swirled around the wind. Imagine the wind and the leaves swirling around the wind. Okay? So again, download this story so you can read what happens to this fantasy story here. What happened to this girl who opened this book and then the spirit of language came to talk to her? What happened next? Check it out and see it for yourself. Moving on to day 3 of the challenge, we have the Sci-Fi Wednesday. Now it's another story genre. We have sci-fi. Sci-fi is short for science fiction. And this story is called The Language Chip. So listen to the introduction. In the year 2150, learning English was as simple as inserting a chip into your brain. Tom nervously entered the Language Enhancement Center. Ready for your English upgrade? The technician asked. Tom nodded, excited but apprehensive. As the chip activated, he felt a strange tingling. Suddenly, English words and phrases flooded his mind. But something wasn't right. Why was everyone around him speaking in code? You see, so this is a sci-fi story that we have here, which takes place in 2150, and apparently people can learn languages simply by inserting a chip into their brains, right? So let me go over the vocabulary from this paragraph. We have here apprehensive. When you feel apprehensive, you feel anxious, fearful, nervous. You feel like something bad or unpleasant is about to happen, so you feel apprehensive. For example, she was apprehensive about the upcoming exam. We also have here when something floods your mind. So when something floods your mind, it suddenly fills your mind with a rush of thoughts, memories, or feelings. The word flood by itself is usually related to water. In some places in the world, sometimes when there's a storm or very heavy rain, some places, some houses get flooded. It's a terrible situation, but this happens sometimes. This is flood, okay? The literal meaning. But here, when something floods your mind, imagine you have a rush, a huge amount of thoughts, memories, or feelings coming at you at once. For example, memories of his childhood flooded his mind when he visited his old school. It's almost like he visited his old school and then all those memories came flooding his mind. It was a lot at once, okay? We also have the word nod. When you nod, you lower and raise your head slightly and briefly, especially in greeting, assent, or understanding. Basically, when you move your head up and down to indicate that you agree with someone or you are listening to someone, like this. So right now, as I'm talking to you, I am nodding my head, or I'm nodding, okay? For example, he nodded in agreement when asked if he understood the instructions. And finally, we have the word tingle. The story was saying that he felt a tingling feeling. Yeah, something was tingling. Yeah? So when something tingles, it has a slight stinging or prickling sensation. You feel a little bit of a prickle. You know, when you take a blood test, for example, or when you have to take a shot, usually when the needle enters your skin, you feel that tingling sensation, that prickling sensation. Go like that. This is tingling, okay? For example, her cheeks tingled from the cold wind. That's an example, all right? So there you have it. So far we have covered day 1, the Mystery Monday, and then day 2 is the Fantasy Tuesday. Day 3 was the Sci-Fi Wednesday. What's day 4? What kind of story are you going to practice reading aloud there? Day 4 is a romance story, and it's called Romance Thursday. Love in Translation. So let's read here the first paragraph of the story. Emma's heart skipped a beat when she saw the handsome exchange student, Liam. There was just one problem. He only spoke English, and her English skills were basic at best. Determined, Emma signed up for intensive English classes. Each new word and phrase felt like a step closer to Liam. Little did she know, Liam had a secret of his own. He was learning her language too. Interesting. So what do you think is going to happen here? Again, make sure you check it out by downloading the PDF. But anyway, out of this paragraph, I think the expression that caught my attention the most was to skip a beat. To skip a beat. So this is an expression that has 2 meanings. The first meaning is related to your heart, and that's the meaning in the story. Okay? So it means to miss a beat. You know, your heart beats. So if it skips a beat, it's like you miss a beat. This describes the feeling of a sudden jolt or flutter in your chest, often caused by surprise, excitement, or fear. For example, my heart skipped a beat when I saw my favorite band walk onto the stage. Imagine you are watching your favorite band coming up on stage, live. Your heart skipped a beat in that moment, like, oh, this is so cool. So we started the story here talking about Emma and how she skipped a beat when she saw the handsome student, Liam. She must have seen him and go, wow, like that. That's the idea here. But this expression can also mean to hesitate or falter. It means to pause briefly or lose your composure, usually due to surprise or shock. For example, without skipping a beat, she came up with a perfect response to the interviewer's difficult question. In this context, without skipping a beat means without any hesitation. But again, in the story, skipping a beat is more related to this idea of being excited about something, like your favorite band or a person who you are attracted to. After all, this is a romance story, right? So let's move on now to day 5 of the challenge. And now you have an action story to read on day 5. This is the Action Friday, the English Escape Room. So let's read the introduction to this story. Jack's heart raced as he entered the notorious English escape room. You have 60 minutes to solve the language puzzles and find the exit, a voice announced. The clock started ticking. Jack faced walls covered in grammar rules, tongue twisters, and idiomatic expressions. He had to use all his English skills to survive. Could he crack the code and escape before time ran out? What's going to happen? Is Jack going to be able to get out of the escape room? You have to read the rest and find out. But let me just quickly explain here some useful vocabulary. We have crack the code. When you crack the code or when you crack a code, you figure out a complex problem or a hidden meaning to something. For example, the detective finally cracked the code and discovered who the murderer was. You see, the detective discovered or figured out that complex problem or found a hidden meaning in order to solve that case. We have the word notorious also in the story. Something notorious is famous or well-known, but typically for some bad quality or action. For example, The pirate Blackbeard was notorious for his cruelty. In other words, he was famous for his cruelty. In the story here, we were talking about the notorious English escape room. So this escape room was famous for being maybe very hard to escape, very hard to get out of. Got it? We also have when a person's heart races. We start the story, remember, saying that Jack's heart raced. This describes the feeling of your heart beating very fast, often due to excitement, fear, exertion, or stress. So your heart races, okay? For example, her heart raced as she waited for the race to begin. So she was really excited and her heart was beating very fast. In other words, her heart raced. And finally, we have the expression when time runs out. When time runs out, there is no time left to do something. It's when a deadline has been reached. You have no more time. For example, they had to make a decision before time ran out. In other words, before time ended. Okay? Then we move on to day 6 of this challenge, which is the Historical Fiction Saturday, the time-traveling tutor. Now we have a historical fiction story to read on Saturday. So, listen to the introduction. In 1815 London, young Alice dreamed of becoming a writer, but her English skills were lacking. One foggy night, a mysterious figure appeared in her room. "I am William Shakespeare," he announced, "sent through time to tutor you in the art of English." Alice's eyes widened with disbelief and excitement. Her journey through the history of the English language was about to begin. By the way, what do you think of my British accent? I know it's not the best, but the point here, guys, is that I'm enjoying myself as I'm reading this. I'm having fun, and so should you. As you read these stories day after day for a week in this challenge, have fun, enjoy yourself, be a little bit silly, play with different voices, different emotions, different accents even. You are practicing speaking in a fun way. And you can do this 100% alone, by yourself at home. Okay? So have fun with it. Don't take yourself so seriously. Okay? Let me just explain here a couple of words from this paragraph. First of all, when something is lacking, this thing is missing, is insufficient or inadequate. It's not enough. For example, the cake was delicious, but it was lacking in frosting. The frosting is the top of the cake, basically, you know? So that part of the cake was lacking, was missing, insufficient, or inadequate. And another nice phrase here is when a person's eyes widen, with disbelief. Okay? When a person's eyes widen with disbelief. This describes the facial expression that occurs when someone is shocked or astonished to the point of not believing what they are seeing or hearing. For example, her eyes widened with disbelief when she heard the news of the lottery win. So picture her eyes widening, you see, opening wide with disbelief, like she couldn't believe it. She didn't believe it. I won the lottery? It's like, you see, my eyes are widening with disbelief right now. This is a great phrase. Memorize it, okay? So after day 6, we finally come to the last day of this challenge. And the last day I call the Freestyle Sunday. And the story is titled The Language of Dreams. Freestyle Sunday because this last story is kind of a mix of a bunch of genres together. You know, it's not just one specific genre, but it's a little mix of everything, okay? So, again, let me read the first paragraph here to you. So listen. Maya always had vivid dreams, but lately they were different. In her dreams, She could speak perfect English. She explored bustling cities, debated philosophy, and even performed on stage, all in flawless English. But as soon as she woke up, the words slipped away. One night, she met a dream guide who offered to help her bring her dream English into the waking world. Maya's adventure to bridge her two worlds had just begun. All right? Moving on here to a couple of definitions. I really like this expression, bustling cities or a bustling city. A bustling city is a city full of activity and people. For example, the bustling city never seemed to sleep, with its bright lights and constant noise. So usually if you come from a very big city, or if you live in one, chances are you live in a bustling city. It's a city where stores open up to late or they stay open 24/7. There's always something going on in the city. This is like the city never sleeps. That's a bustling city. And we also have this very nice phrasal verb, to slip away. When something slips away, it leaves discreetly or unnoticed. Just leaves, disappears without people realizing it. For example, she slipped away from the party without saying goodbye. Got it? She slipped away from the party without saying goodbye. Nobody noticed. Maybe people just realized it much, much later. Okay? And there you have it. This is your 7-day speaking challenge revolving the topic of storytelling. So each day of the week, you will read aloud a different 500-word story. And each day, you're going to be working with a different genre. All right? Don't forget to download the PDF for this lesson here. Again, you can download the free version, which only has the stories for you to practice reading aloud. But if you want to take your learning further, I recommend you download the full version of the PDF, either by joining my private community and accessing the file there, or by purchasing the solo file for $5. Okay, remember that the full version comes with an extensive list of nice vocabulary from these stories. In today's episode, I explained to you some of this vocabulary, some of these words, but there are many, many more, and you can access that in the full version of the PDF. Okay? So try this challenge and let me know later what you thought about it. You can leave me a comment here under this video or in an upcoming video sharing, what you thought about this challenge. I'm curious to know. Speaking of sharing messages with me, now it's a perfect moment for us to jump into the Learner's Corner. And for today's Learner's Corner, I have here an email from a follower named Rafael Vergata. And Rafael says, "Hi, Thiago. My name is Rafael. I am from Andorra, a little Pyrenean country between Spain and France. I try to listen to one of your podcasts every day. I find them very interesting. My level of English is B2, C1, and I want to try to read a book in English, but I don't know which one to choose. Can you recommend some of them? I'm not used to reading books. Thanks a lot." Rafael, first of all, thank you for writing. And I think it's great that you are looking to start reading in English. This is an excellent habit that I believe every learner should adopt. Read a book in English. At least one book in English every 2 or 3 months, but read one because it helps with your vocabulary range. You learn more words. It helps with your grammar because you learn how the words are written, how the structures are written, the punctuation, So, reading is an excellent exercise and habit for you to adopt. Now, about recommending some books for you to read, I'm not a big fan of that question, to be honest, because I think that this is something very personal. It's just like I've had other students asking me to recommend a movie to watch or a TV show to watch. Yes, I can name here some of my favorites, but at the end of the day, I think it's nice for you to pick the books that you want to read. First of all, are you more into fiction or nonfiction? Fiction stories are stories that don't exist. For example, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, these are fiction books. Non-fiction books are books about real things like business, marketing, self-help, psychology, philosophy, So what kind of books are you more interested in? You can start with that question. Are you more into fiction or non-fiction? So start with one of those, all right? Now, what I'm going to recommend actually is not one book per se, but a website that can help you decide on which book to start reading in English now and which books to start reading next. And this website is called Goodreads. Goodreads.com. This is an excellent website. Think about Goodreads as almost like a social media for readers because, you can add friends there, by creating an account. And your friends can see your favorite books. You can see your friends' favorite books, many lists. Also, this website offers an extensive catalog of books. So you can search for the greatest books of the 20th century there. You can also search for books by filtering through genres, horror, mystery, history, sci-fi, business books, marketing books, So you can also filter your search there and you get to see as well the review of each book, how many stars out of 5 each book has. You can read other people's reviews of those books, You can see if people are enjoying those books or not, what they have to say about those books. So I would recommend just going to Goodreads, create a free account there, and start using Goodreads to make your own list of books that you want to read in English, to search for titles there. I think that's the best way, actually, So here's my recommendation to you. Go to goodreads.com, and I'm sure that you will find a book there for you to start reading in English. Because at the end of the day, what's important here is that you develop the habit of reading in English. What kind of book you read is a minor detail. It doesn't really matter what book you pick to read. Just like, if you want to start watching movies and TV series in English more often, what movie or TV show you pick to watch is a minor detail. What matters is that you develop the habit of watching those regularly, right? So just pick something that is mildly interesting to you, that you find, intrigued by, and start reading this book or start watching that movie or TV show, And then if you read the book and you realize that you don't like it, that's okay. And then you pick another book and then you read that one, It's kind of you will only know the books that you like or don't like when you read them. Yeah, when you read. So just focus now on developing the habit of reading books in English. Don't get so bogged down with what books should I read first? Any book that you find appealing, that you find interesting, okay? And, you can actually start with this challenge from this episode. This challenge presented you with 7 fictional stories. Start there. Start reading these stories, 1 per day, aloud, and then you can pick a book to read right after, okay? But thanks for sending your mail, and I wish you success on your English learning journey. All right? Guys, if you want to do it just like Rafael, you can write me an email with your question, comment, anything that you want to share here on the show. To send me an email, you can do so at hello.teacherthiago@gmail.com. Or if you prefer, you can also send me an audio message of about 90 seconds. And to send me this audio message, you could go to speakpipe.com/EnglishWithThiago. All right? That is speakpipe.com/EnglishWithThiago. I hope you enjoyed this speaking challenge today. Again, try it. Let me know how it goes for you if you enjoy it. And don't forget to download one of the versions of the PDF so that you can take this challenge. All right? A free way for you to support my work here on YouTube is by leaving a like on this video, leaving a comment, letting me know about what you thought about this video, about this challenge. Also sharing this video with your social circle, and of course, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can follow the show, like I've already said, and leave me a 5-star review on those platforms as well. But that's it for now, guys. I'm Thiago. I'm signing off. Do take that challenge and let me know later how it goes for you. I'm signing off, and I'll be talking to you very soon in the upcoming episode. Have a great challenge. Bye-bye.